Side Mayor Tiffany Hanyard.
Fox 32 has learned they are criminal defense attorneys brought to the meeting by Mayor Hanyard, who is at the center of a federal criminal investigation. Dane Placco has the latest on the drama in Dolton.
Another wild.
If people really knew what was going on in our communities, they wouldn't even be thinking about this little bit of money. The school system is ripping us off left and right. And I've been in battle with them for the longest time over at District 228 in Midlothian, Bremen Hillcrest, Tinley Park, and Oak Forest. These people here gave a woman a $50,000 raise. A $50,000 raise. They are some of the highest paid teachers in the land, and they ripping us off left and right. I support here. I'm one of the people out here that's fighting for our communities, and you know what? I believe in the long run, she's going to fight for our communities in more ways than we can speak of. Yeah, it might be a little bad here in the beginning, but I tell you one thing, our school district would allow up to $75,000 to go unreported. So you can be on the payroll, and as long as your money, your benefits and salary don't total more than $75,000, you all good. You might come on salary and have 2 or 3 different names. We don't even know because we ain't never audited our books since Evelyn Gleason been on the board since 93, and we ain't never even once audit our books. They fighting with me. They threw me off the board and different things like that. Now they coming after my money in the bank. They took that back in April of 23. They doing me just like Trump. Now I'm in front of this crooked ass lawyer over here ruling against me on every turn, even though I had my lawyer, Miss Joan Clare, the village legal man, she did an outstanding job, man. She slammed them people. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but you can go to my LinkedIn page, Mark Johnson, and look me up, man, and start seeing all the stuff that I've gone through in this community. I've been here since 1970, and I don't think that she was overly brazen in the cost. $3.6 million, where we ran a $6 million budget with just our high school system alone because we overpaying our teachers. You know, they took me to court. That's right. The teachers union took me to court. Yes, they did, man. They didn't have no problem telling me to shut up because I told that this teacher was making $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. You know, a teacher's school year is only 174 days. In reality, a year for us is 365 and 66 when it's a day of leap year. And it's always leap year is a presidential election. Every 4 years we have a leap year, and it's always in election year and also Olympic year. But they work 174 days, and we times that by 2, that's 348 days. When they get at the end of this contract they just signed in 27-28 school year, I believe. So they're going to be making about $500,000 in that 348 days. But also remember, every year they get 15 days of sick pay. So that's 2 years of pay. That's 30 days they don't have to work. And that's 308 days for them to work to make $500,000. Of course, they mad with me, but the real system that's being ripped off is our school system. Black kids only have to get 20% out of 100 in order to pass. And we as black people will sit there and accept that. It's coming from the Democrat Party. A D. Governor Pritzker signed it into law back in 21. So we've been working on this system that the kids only have to do 20% of the work. They don't have to do any homework, and they can still pass. The real ripoff to our community is the school system. Let's listen to some more of what's going on with this.
At the Dolton Village Board, with a handful of residents being ejected for shouting at the mayor, who also continues to do battle with the majority of the village trustees.
So you got us into this mess, and now we're trying to salvage what we can to get out. People that say things about me, I want you to prove it. Because, like I said, fact versus fiction.
Sitting at the mayor's side in a place usually reserved for the village attorneys, two unfamiliar faces.
I didn't know them. A lot of my board members, they didn't know them either.
Fox 32 has learned this is Chicago federal criminal defense attorney Bo Brindley, along with his law partner Ed McDavid. The website for Brindley's law firm says results matter, aggressive criminal defense. The two criminal lawyers sat next to Hanyard the entire meeting.
If they want to see some criminals, come out to District 228 and look at all the criminal activity that's going around in our own finances. They are overpaying these teachers. They don't care about whether it's affirmative action and different things like that is not being adhered to. It's all white school administration. Out of 320 teachers, maybe like 305 are white. And the kids just passed a milestone here. Hillcrest has a 95% failure rate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the real crime. Don't let it get smoke and mirrors by some mayor that got 3.6 million. And I'm sure she didn't do all of that by herself. They just looking for a scapegoat. I stand with you, Miss Hanyard. If I came up to your township yesterday, left you my phone number, I'm here. I could show you that wouldn't even reach the scope, because they can pay out $75,000 and don't even have to report it to the public. And we don't know how many people are on the ghost payroll and different things like that. A whole lot of people would need lawyers like this to come out there. But let's continue what's going on in this newscast.
And even went into the board's closed executive session. What makes this especially notable is that Hanyard is at the center of an ongoing FBI corruption investigation.
Our biggest fear is that she's going to use them for her criminal defense attorney and that the village is going to pay for it.
In a statement, Brindley, a former federal prosecutor, says Mayor Hanyard retained me to evaluate the board's conduct and identify violations of municipal law. Mayor Hanyard is charged with no crime. Brindley says he is not being paid by the village.
Why are you having a federal criminal lawyer sit next to you at a village board meeting? I mean, all I can say is, really?
Municipal Attorney Bert Odelson, who represents the four trustees doing battle with Hanyard, says the criminal lawyers had no standing to sit on the board, and paying them out of village funds would be illegal.
Well, we have a lot of experience in Chicago. That happens quite frequently, that politicians get indicted, but they don't have the municipality that they work for pay for their criminal defense.
Also at the meeting, trustees fired acting police chief Louis Lacey and several other Dolton employees, saying the village is bleeding.
At least people are being fired at this in this village, trying to show some accountability. But we had a kid that got killed at Hillcrest after a football game. Nobody lost their job. No one got replaced. And nobody is going to prison for that boy's death. We continuously look the other way. One of our buses going through Hazelcrest was attacked in April of 23. No mention from the superintendent or anybody to let us know that this had happened, that one of our students was being hunted down by somebody over there by South Suburban Hospital in Hazelcrest, for those of us who are familiar with the area. But our principal of Hillcrest and the superintendent went out and then did an investigation, and they looking at him, and by the grace of God, we didn't have any of our students get killed. But on May 2nd, Chief Davis of the Hazelcrest Police Department put on a show to let us know the relevancy of how much crime is going on. But he mentioned this right off the very top, that we had, our kids are under attack, but they don't have anybody they can turn to. that would allow them to be able to say, adults to say something. And now we didn't know about that. This lady brought her son from Brother Rice out to Hillcrest and was letting him come to Hillcrest, even though she had him at. In other words, if she had known that this had happened, maybe she would have kept her son down at Brother Rice, and her son would be alive today. But none of the administration, none of the school board members came out to this meeting that this was highly to anticipate what we can do about making sure our students are safe. And the principal and the superintendent was both there. No changes out there. And even in February, the kid got killed in September. The meeting took place. Let me start over. The meeting took place on May 2nd. The kid got killed sometime in September on a homecoming game. But no extra security to secure the perimeter. He walked from the back of the school to the front of the school, and somehow he ended up shot. And they were saying that it's a crossfire, so they wasn't even shooting at him. They were shooting at somebody that I guess that he was walking with. We don't even know the story as it is today. But 2 board members took my spot and one Kim Campworth's spot, and it turned out to be that they don't care nothing about it. They taking a payment. And her husband told me this on June 20th of 23. And it's visible on the camera that I'm sitting here talking with her husband. They don't like me because I did not take the doggone bribe. I did not take the bribe. So they mad at me because, you know what? No, I don't need that. I believe that God always has a plan for me to come up with money. And here, let me continue with this, Ms. Hilliard.
Money and needs to reduce payroll. In turn, Hanyard fired her longtime village administrator, Keith Freeman, who's believed to now be cooperating with investigations into village finances.
Keith Freeman is fired from the Village of Dolton. He no longer works at the Village of Dolton.
On Thursday, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is expected to release her investigation into Hanyard and spending here at the Village of Dolton. Sources telling me her report will find the village is millions of dollars in debt. It may not be able to make payroll in just a few weeks.
Okay, good evening, everybody. How's everybody today? It's wonderful to see so many smiling faces and interested faces, and so we want to make sure that we keep the spirits up. We have a lot of information to report, so we're going to go get ready to convene our meeting. I'll ask first Clerk Key for a roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Trustee Norwood?
Thank you very much. This meeting being properly called by 3 trustees, Trustee House, Trustee Belcher, and Trustee Tammy Brown. We want to make sure we mark on the record, in the absence of the mayor, as the mayor is not present with us, I'm convening it as Mayor Pro Tem, and this meeting is properly called with 48 hours notice. First, we're going to ask everybody to do the pledge, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to say thank you all for coming out. As everyone knows, this information tonight, everybody has been waiting on. So good to see a lot of Dolton residents out just because they want to know what's going on with their tax.
Property taxes are going up because the school system is constantly giving raises. The vast majority of your money is going towards paying for all these raises. It is not coming from this little bit of spending. My school district is like $120 million, $120 million. And they only have to get the kids to 20% out of 100. The vast majority of your tax dollars are going to the school system. Me, myself, as I told them people in a meeting, village meeting, in one of my board meetings, we need to get rid of the teachers union. We need to get rid of the teachers union. As I'm speaking on this, it's nice that they are going through that and they're going to find something against her, but really study where your money is going to these school system. At least in my district as much as I possibly can. I mean, I went over to a Barack Obama school on 165th and Park and with Joe Pass, a very nice looking building, but they only got 2s and 3s as far as out of 10. Why do we have his name up there if the school is only getting a 2 or 3 out of it? I stand with Hilliard, and I hope I'm able to do anything to help her, as she could be something to help me continue on and move forward with trying to make sure that look where your tax dollars are going and how they're not helping. And her township has probably 4 schools. I think HF, Thornwood, Thorn Ridge, and obviously Thornton are schools that are in her townships that is affected by a lot of things that's about to go down out here. So, but we want to continue on with this.
Dollars. Please just give Mayor Lightfoot the respect. It's a wealth of information based on what was just given to us. And once we intake this information, please just work with us on our next steps of whatever we get. I just want just let everybody know that at this time, if anyone was at the meeting on Monday, you guys see that we are in a financial crisis. And I want you to trust your trustees that we are working for you.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I would just first like to say that I am so happy to see everyone. You all know what they say, a family that stays together, a family that prays together, stays together, okay? So I'd also like to just thank our residents, right? 2 Dolton residents. We know that these last 3 years have been a little difficult for us, right? We've had to make a lot of tough decisions regarding the town as a board. And I thank you all for trusting us, believing in us in the process, and knowing that we have a plan. We have a plan. I think that these last 3 years have made us stronger.
This is something that, as you can see, I'm a Trump supporter and making America great. I like what these people are doing on there. You know, they want to get to the bottom of it. But Ms. Hanyard, I believe, is just small potatoes. Let's really focus in on the issues that are really going on in the community with crime and other things. As the schools continue to falter, your crime rate is going to go up precipitously the same way. So let's stop thinking about a payout of Amazon and stuff like that. Yeah, that should be paid back in some type of way, or the item given back or something like that, and move forward with it. But we're chipping our kids out of their educational, and it's causing them to end up in prison or not be able to do anything with their life that's productive.
Never before. I just want you all to know that I love you guys, and tonight is a good night.
One last thing, Mayor Pro Tem, we definitely want to thank Mayor Lightfoot for taking on, when I tell you, this devastating task. We thank her for taking on this task and helping not only the trustees, but also the residents. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot.
Further acknowledgement to the hard-fighting Dolton firefighters who come and who show up every day for us through, we want to know the community loves you, and we appreciate everything that you're doing, and we are working hard to get you guys made whole and made correct. I will have a few other comments about the report to preface the report, and some of the things we did make sure that it was an independent report. So the board was kind of given some kind of snippets ahead of time, but we wanted to also maintain the integrity of independence. So there are some things we'll be seeing for the first time, some things we've had kind of a heads up to, but it's given us some direction. So I'll preface some more comments. At Monday's board meeting, there were also some actions voted on by the Board of Trustees that have left confusion or ambiguity, because the board has voted to begin some layoffs for budgetary reasons, and all of those have not been implemented at this time, or they're in various phases. So we are working with our attorneys. So I asked if Attorney McGrath can kind of also give an update to the community on what's going on there.
Updates since the meeting on Monday night, which a lot of items were brought out, specific.
School boards, we haven't had a layoff in, I couldn't tell you when. Reason why I'm so hard on the school board, because they have gotten away with not even doing their job, and they don't have to. Hillcrest is at a 95% failure rate. Shouldn't somebody say something? But they ready to kick me out my house, which is another battle I've been going through here with the court system and stuff, and how really ridiculous Cook County, Markham, and the state of Illinois is, man. It's beyond belief, but I don't want to get into that one just yet. I want to get into it on our next one. Let's continue to listen to this part of the tape.
The village's finances and why we're here tonight to go into more detail. But the board has decided to implement a hiring freeze. It was not able to be put on this agenda in time, but they want to know that let the residents know that there's going to be a hiring freeze, that the village is just not able to hire any more employees in any department. There were some layoffs, and there's most likely going to be more layoffs, unfortunately, in the future. Since Monday's meeting, there's also been a number of instances of harassment in the workplace, threats to employees and elected officials. I have advised all staff and employees to document those incidents, and we are going to forward them to the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, who by ordinance is the Inspector General for the Village of Dolton. Well, once again, based on the board's directive, different individuals aren't following the board's directive. There was a deputy chief that was placed on administrative leave. He disregarded that and showed up the very next day. He then received a notice that he was terminated, and he and despite being notified that he was terminated and in discussions with the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP, he again showed up today. Once again, the mayor has changed the locks at the village hall. Everyone recall how orderly and how nice it was to walk into the village board meeting on Monday night when the Madam Clerk and the trustees had key fobs to get into the village. Once again, this is about the third time that she has changed the lock, so the elected officials do not have access and cannot get into the village hall, which belongs to the people. I got a call.
I believe that she should deflect and put it on the school system. Put everything on there, because your taxes are going up because of the schools. The schools in my part there is like 50% of the tax bill we provide 50% of the funding for the schools, the taxpayers in our district. A lot of times it comes down to that, you know what, the school's gonna take priority. All your high schools and middle schools and then grammar schools are taking priority. Please note that's just the way it is in our society. And then you talking about right now in Bremen, it takes about $80,000 to fund one student through 4 years of high school. But I want to say this: it could be $120,000, $130,000 to do a kid that's 14 years old and getting ready to go, who's a freshman, but don't speak the language. Now we have to hire more and more teachers to fill this role so that we can have bilingual or 3 or 4 different languages. Is killing our system. It's killing our system. The teachers union like it because, you know, the more students they have, the more job security they have. That's just plain and simple. Educating all of these illegal immigrants is causing a lot of fluctuation in our schools and the money that got to be allocated towards it. You know, at one point in time, we put $227 million more into 227. I'm sorry, against 228 versus 227. And 227 wind up having to close down one of these schools. One of the reasons that it did it is because the enrollment was going down. Well, why increase our enrollment where we over 5,000, approaching 6,000 students? Why didn't you just push those kids towards Park Forest and let them keep opening their schools instead of forcing us to come out and having to fund all of these students that's coming who may be a sanctuary city from the city of Chicago, and when we doing that, it turns out that we had to have higher property taxes to come out here and deal with this influx of students. That's the real crime. Yeah, sure, Miss Tiffany probably need to make some type of restitution or give the items back and stuff like that she's going to be, Mary Lightfoot is going to be pointing out here, but let's see.
From an attorney this afternoon who unfortunately says I have a couple lawsuits that I have to file against the village. It's been pending in court and I can't serve the village because I can't get to the clerk because the doors to the village hall are locked. But the locks have changed. Emails were shut off, and I had heard that Mr. Lacey and others have brought in their own IT person in an effort to gain access to their emails that were shut down. I don't know the status of that, but there's a lot of stuff that happens really, really quick. Things happen every day. You just cannot believe what's going on with this administration.
Okay, and then we're going to cycle back to item C, which is the presentation and preliminary findings from former Mayor Lightfoot. I have a couple of comments. I don't know if any board members had comments too before I segue to Mayor Lightfoot. So this process started and the request started because for I would say up to at least up to a year, our administration and more importantly the residents have not had the opportunity to know what's going on financially with the records in our town. We've also looked at the investigation into what happened in Vegas, and we were not able to get answers. While we are aware that there are FBI subpoenas and a probable FBI investigation, we feel and felt the need for some answers that the community deserves, that this board deserves, and that in order for us to be on solid footing to make a plan. From the pieces that I've seen, it mirrors exactly what we knew, is that we are in a dire financial position. That is something that I think as the numbers come, we can be extremely frustrating to the residents of this community. And we want to make sure that we are recognizing where we are and using this as a jumping point to where we can to get back where we need to be and to thriving. So we want to make sure that everybody's taking in the information. We deserve to know this information. Want to echo the sentiments of Trustee Tammy Brown and saying thank you for all of the hours and all of the hard work. Not too many hours, we put a cap on it. But I want to say thank you for all of the hard work that has been put into this. We noted this as a preliminary report, but we felt it very urgent that we share the findings because we made promises to do this in a transparent manner with the community. So there still are some stages to go. I'm sure Mayor Lightfoot will talk about some of the, but without further ado, I want to turn over to Mayor Lightfoot.
Can you all hear me just fine, and particularly the folks in the back of the room? All right. First and foremost, I want to just emphasize a couple points that Trustee House and others have made. First of all, thank you to the trustees, to Madam Clerk, to Mike McGrath and Bert Odelson. This has been a challenging investigation, to say the least, because we have not received the level of cooperation from the mayor and her team that I would have hoped. Nonetheless, we've had, I think, a breakthrough that's allowed us to be here in front of you today to give you the information that I know that the trustees for sure and the members of the public have been seeking for some time. But I do want to emphasize this is just preliminary. We have more work to do. As Trustee House said, we believe that it was very important to come before the members of the public so you would have some context for what the current state of your finances are as city government. As has been alluded to, I think there's going to have to be some tough decisions that are made, but you've got to make that with as complete a set of information as possible. And that's what this presentation is intended to do. Our work is ongoing, and we expect to finish with in expedited fashion. But as I said, we wanted to get to you as quickly as possible. A couple of points just so we're all, I'm not an accountant, and I suspect many of you in the room are not, but we will be covering some accounting terms and wanted to just make sure that everybody had the same basic level of understanding as we go through these slides. We're going to talk about how the Village of Dolton handles its accounting system. We'll talk about in detail about the preliminary assessment of the financial status. We're going to go over what we've seen as increasing expenditures since 2021, unfunded expenditures, the current cash status, credit card use. Then we'll do a summary, and then we'll entertain questions from the trustees. So let me just jump right into it. Many of you know that the village, in the same manner as other municipalities in the state, accounts for its finances using what's called fund accounting. That means that's just a fancy word of saying the expenses and the revenues are divided up into specific buckets of dollars. And those funds are what we're going to be talking about. The village maintains three categories of fund: a general governmental fund, the proprietary fund, and a fiduciary fund.
So within each category, I have to talk about. So within each category of funds, there are underlying funds that are used to account for resources that are for different purposes. The first category, governmental funds, includes the general fund, which is going to be the focus of our presentation this evening. And the general fund is what's used to account for the day-to-day operations of the village. Additionally, there are what are known as special revenue funds. These are specific funds for specific purposes. This includes the motor fuel tax and TIF money. The final governmental fund is debt service funds, where the village's debt obligations are accounted for, which is primarily the public bond debt. The final two categories of funds, which we will not be covering today, are proprietary funds, which account for transactions that are more business in nature, operations that should be funded by customer payments. That's the water fund, the sewer fund, and the fitness center. And the final are fiduciary funds, which are held for non-governmental parties, and that is the village's pension.
Certain financial disclosures are mandated under state law that the village reports to the comptroller of the state each fiscal year. Two documents that we're going to talk specifically about are the annual financial report, and you see the citation there. It's a state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2021. There's no annual financial report available after 2021 and no audited financial statements after 2021. So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by a CPA, but we do have information coming from an entity that essentially serves
Bremen District 228, as I have FOIA'd the last time we did an audit on our particular books and stuff like that, our accounting. But it turned out to be that none has never been done. So we don't know who or what amount of money is missing in our funding balance. District 228.
As the finance department of the village. Historically, from what we can tell, the village has had small or no full-time financial staff. At various times, even though statutorily there's a provision for a city treasurer, none exists and hasn't for some time. There's a provision for a finance director. There's been intermittent people that have served that role, but that role has been vacant as of May of this year. And before that, the person who held the role started working part-time as of the end of December in 2023. So as you can see, given the lean or no financial staff, there's a lot of dependence upon the John Kasparic accounting firm, which is functionally operated as the village's finance department for some time. What we have examined are...
I want to make sure that I recorrect something out there. We haven't had a forensic audit done on our books since as far as we can go back as 1993, and that's when Evelyn Gleason got on the school board in 1993, 32 years ago. In April, she'll have 32 years. We have not had a forensic audit done.
Monthly financial reports from January of 2021 to May of 2024 produced by the Kasperick firm. And as I mentioned, due to the village's failure to conduct an audited financial statement, we have to caveat the accuracy of the information, but we feel fairly confident based upon lining out not only the monthly reports, but looking at bank statements that match up with the information that's in the financial reports. And we've had the opportunity to talk to some of the folks at the Kasperick firm who are responsible for managing the finances of the village, and that work is ongoing. As of May 30th of this year, the village's general fund was in a net deficit position, meaning that there is insufficient funds in that general fund. As we mentioned, the general fund is used to account for the majority of the village's day-to-day operations, including payroll and.
Remember, I want to tell y'all something again and make sure I understood this. I want you to understand this. District 228 and all schools, I presumed, have a $75,000 cushion. In other words, they do not have to report anything $74,999. They don't have to report that. If your salary and benefits do not come up to $75,000, that is a lot of money. That could be, anybody could be on your payroll. You can be paying part of a policeman's salaries and stuff. We have no idea because we have never done a forensic audit. If they are looking into crimes like this one in here, if it is a crime, I don't want to say that, I know I said it, but I don't want to sit back there and say that, we need our stuff looked at. We need our stuff to be looked at, and they get mad with me because I keep raising all kind of questions about this stuff, saying that teachers are gonna make $1,000. They get all mad at me because you know what? I don't understand why do we need all of that if automation is here. I mean, we can go all the way back to 1984 where the Terminator came out. Obviously, they need to sell movie tickets, so he's going to be a bad, but you can look around and see that he can probably teach the class better than some and anybody because they're going to have superior knowledge. You have Khan Academy and Sullivan and all these other type of entities that are coming out here that's doing learning experience. You do not need certified teachers, and they're proving themselves over and over and over again that you don't need them to pay them that kind of money. We can get a much better service out of that. And I'm running for 2025 against Evelyn Gleason to try to fix our society in the part that I can. I'm making America great just like President Trump is. I'm making my area and my neighborhoods and everything else the safest it can be, and educating our kids and making sure that they have an opportunity to succeed. I'm very believing that, you can do anything you want to in this country. I built a business up. I was looking at paperwork today where my business was making like $380,000 for somebody that was on welfare. Yeah, I like fighting for my community. I've been here since 1970, and I'm tired of people taking advantage of us, putting our kids and stuff down, making sure that they always feel that they could never succeed. But I want to let you know that I'm here to make sure that our community succeed.
Vendor payments. The village's special revenue fund and debt service fund, however, are in a positive position, but each of those funds are restricted funds, meaning you cannot borrow from one to give to the other. And that is what's causing, in part, the financial crisis. What's next you can see is a graphic that depicts where we started as of April, where the village started as of April of 22 with positive of $5.6 million in the general fund, and where we are as of May of 2024, which is a negative 3.65 million.
Mayor Lightfoot, if I may.
Yes.
Just kind of as a summary now, just quick numbers. So in a 2-year span, we're talking about a $9 million swing or $9 million of deficit over that course of time. Would that be accurate?
Turning now to the increasing expenditures of the village. Over the last 3 fiscal years, the average monthly expenditures of the village have increased by nearly 30%. As you can see in the graphic, in fiscal year 2022, on average, the village spent about $1.9 million a month. But in the last fiscal year, that amount had climbed to $2.5 million. These increasing expenditures have not been accompanied by corresponding increases in revenue. Again, as you see in the graph on the blue bars, the revenues have remained relative.
These numbers are indicative of all of our governments. All of our governments are indicative of this. Where they overspend or for whatever reason out there that, things are gone up in prices. The inflation is hitting. So naturally, these things are going to cost more for them to take place. It's not necessary that she came in and stole all of this money. Inflation is having an effect. The government can go out here, the federal government can go out here and spend all the money it wants. All they got to do is print it. That's it. Yeah, we see what inflation is doing to the city. Now, maybe not every city is in this predicament, but then again, inflation is a part of these numbers. So please don't over-exaggerate what it is and why it's hitting these particular funds. I support Tiffany, and hopefully she'll give me a call one day.
The same over that time period, around just over $24 million, while expenditures have climbed from $23 million in 2022 to $30 million in 2024. Ultimately, in fiscal years 2023 and 2024, expenditures exceeded revenue. Specifically in 2024, it was over $5 million more in expenditures than revenues.
See, they're not telling you about the darn consumer price index that's causing a lot of this stuff to rise. Not everything is going to be in. Let's see what else they say. They might put it in.
To look further at the increasing expenditures, the table on the screen highlights the 2 village departments that are the main drivers of this spending increase: the General Administration and Administrative Compensation Department and the Police Department. There have been increases in general administration spending in nearly every area, but there are a handful that stick out the most. As you can see on the first line, the largest driver of this increase is a more than double change in liability insurance cost. It's gone.
How is that her fault? How is that her fault? Insurance company, this is dealing with the inflation. This is dealing with the inflation. It doubled out there. It's almost 3 times as much. That is not her fault.
$1.2 million in fiscal year 2022 to $3.2 million in fiscal year 2024. Other areas where we see large increases are miscellaneous expenditures, settlements, legal fees, and telephone.
Let me just add regarding the legal fees. These are everything that we're representing to you tonight are things that have been booked in one of the general ledgers or otherwise. We know that the legal fees that have been booked so far are underestimated because there are a number of legal fees that have yet to be paid. And obviously with the litigation that's been filed, particularly by vendors who have not been paid, those legal fees will definitely this is a very conservative estimate of what those fees actually are. Let me drill a little bit down also in what we're seeing so far with the police department. Those expenditures have increased approximately 21% since FY 22. Some of that is obviously driven by the union contracts and making sure that there's retro pay and that the police officers are compensated according to the collective bargaining agreement. Within the police department expenditures, categories with large increases include overtime, Other miscellaneous expenses, and I will tell you, we don't know exactly what that is, but we're working on unpacking that, contractual services, other professional services, and medical insurance. We wanted to highlight for you, particularly given overtime, what we saw as two outliers in officers, Officer Terry Young and Officer William Reed. Both of these individuals in the last 2 years have earned more in overtime than their base compensation. And you can see these numbers here. Officer Terry Young in FY 2023 earned $194,290 total, given the base salary and the overtime. And then in FY 2024, that increased to $1,351, combining the base salary and the overtime. Officer Reed for FY 2023 had a total earnings of $145,450, and in FY 2024, $192,732. We thought it also important for you to know that Acting Chief Lacey has accumulated overtime. It's our understanding that he is not part of the collective bargaining unit and has not been for some time, which under normal circumstances would mean that he is not entitled to overtime. But as you can see here, for FY 22, FY 23, and FY 24, and we're now in fiscal year 2025, through those 4 years, he has accumulated $747,000 just in overtime.
Now, where's the village manager when they were seeing all these reports come in? Where's the village manager? If they had to be in on the scam in order for it to work, you can't blame the mayor for this stuff. This is not something that you can blame her for. You know, there's supposed to be people that's looking at that and bring it to the attention of the mayor. Why are they getting this? Nobody know. That's not right. This should have been brought by the village manager. Supposed to be overseeing this type of stuff.
Based on the records that we have reviewed since March of 2023, the village has been unable to pay all of its monthly expenditures with available cash balance. Since that time, nearly every month, a portion of the checks approved and printed have been held by the village due to unavailability of funds. Per records from the John Kasperick firm, as of June 18, 2024, there are 589 checks totaling over $6 million that have been approved, printed, but not transmitted to vendors.
All right, we'll turn now to discuss the cash status of the village. So the village has 22 different bank accounts. A majority of those bank accounts are designated for the special revenue funds or bond escrow funds. So the money in those bank accounts is restricted and shouldn't be used for day-to-day operations. I'll also note that these 22 accounts don't include the pension assets. The pension assets are held in separate trust accounts. Most of the village's expenditures each month are paid from one main operating bank account. As of June 30th, 2024, that bank account had a balance of $715,000. As of April 30th, 2021, that account had a balance of almost $1.5 million.
So every time inflation comes, it's going to impact everybody's budget. Yeah, it's taking more to do the same jobs out here because the inflation is eating up all of this extra money or the money that was in there. It costs more to run the government, just like it costs more in food and everything else. Our society is running at a deficit all over, not just them. And the ones that don't have to run a deficit is because they cash cowing and getting all of this extra money. And some other school, such as the Rich Central District out there, like I said, they got this district got $227 million more than the Rich Central District, District 228. After it got the $50 million bond, and then it's paying back, the government is paying back $2 million of interest for the next 20 years. So that's a total of another $40 million. But this is all should be normal for most of the people that's coming around. Inflation is hitting everything. It costs more. Police officers are getting raised. Firemen are getting raised. It costs more to buy a new truck or something like that. We have no idea what these things are. They just reporting numbers.
Decrease of over $70,000. In addition to the main operating account, historically, the village has held its excess cash in an account known as Illinois funds. Illinois funds are interest-bearing accounts that are managed by the Illinois Treasurer's Office that allow municipalities to earn interest on their excess cash balance. The balance in the Illinois funds account as of June 30th was only $3,900. As of April 30th, 2021, that balance was over $2 million. So the balance of excess cash has dropped by over $2 million in that time period.
These numbers in comparison to the school district of 228, minuscule. It's minuscule. The city is running a deficit because of the inflation. Don't get it twisted. Because of the inflation, every city and community, things are going up. It's more expensive to run your house, as you already know that. So it's going to cost the city more money. So let's not go in there. People got to be educated about the things that are going on. Trump is a billionaire. Well, why wouldn't I want him to run the country? If he can show that he can make himself a billionaire, he can show us how to become multimillionaires. And that's why we are trying to get him back in office, to come back out here and stop taking money from all us little people and making these elitist people all of this money for what? You know, this Tiffany here, I support her. If she ever comes in there, I can show her that we have a $75,000 grace period, grace, where we don't have to report $1,000. Anybody under salaries and benefits, if it's less than $7,000, we don't have to report it to the public. So you might have 50 people on that that's making less than $75,000, but don't do anything for the district. We have no idea because we have not had a forensic audit. And I requested it all the way back to 1993, and that's when Evelyn Gleason got on the board. Some nefarious stuff is going on there. So let us continue.
The monthly financial reports include a summary of the unrestricted cash balances of the village each month. Within these summaries, the balance reflected already accounts for those held checks that Mayor Lightfoot was just discussing, checks that have been issued but haven't cleared because they haven't been sent yet to vendors. So what you can see on the chart is that the unrestricted cash balance of the general fund has dropped from almost $5 million as of April 2022, and it is now accounting for all of the checks that have yet to be sent, is now in a deficit position of over $5.5 million as of May of 2024.
We thought it was important to give you a little bit of insight into credit card use by village employees. We do not have complete information yet. It is our hope that we will get further cooperation and be able to have a complete picture of credit cards, but we wanted to share with you what we do know so far. We are aware that over this time period, from 2021 to the present, the village used 6 different credit cards at various points from January 2021 through May of this year.
Everybody is using credit cards. Everybody is using the credit cards more than ever because of the inflation. Let us not be silly about the things that's going on. If your household expenses are going up, so is the cities or the villages, whatever you want to call it. Everybody is in a deficit now. People who are on the payroll get raises every year. Don't be sitting back here blaming one person on that stuff.
4 American Express cards that appear to have been used by various folks within the police department. The statements for these accounts were addressed to Ernest Mobley, Robert Collins, and Louis Lacey. All we know was what we've seen in the paper so far. We have not interviewed any of these folks to get a better understanding of the specifics around credit card use. We have some knowledge of that, but we'll share that as part of the final report. There's 1 American Express card for which statements are addressed to Keith Freeman, the village administrator. And there was a 1 Fifth Third card, which statements are addressed to the village. We've been told that that card is no longer in use. We understand from the records we've received from the Kasperick company in interviews that we've conducted that receipts for credit card purchases are rarely provided. Further, we understand that the credit card balance, because it comes due, of course, every month, we all know that, is paid as a matter of course. And it was reflected in the accounting records as miscellaneous police department expenditures. We're looking into what is the reason and rationale for that. But what this means is that these credit card bills that are paid do not appear on warrant lists and are therefore not presented to the board for approval. Again, that will be a recommendation that we make, and the board is obviously aware of this issue, which is in part why they took the action that they took the other day to rein in the credit card spending. We also understand from the Kasperick company that the only time a credit card charge would be reflected on a warrant list is if a receipt is provided. And as I've said, our information is that the receipts are rarely provided. I want to highlight a couple of credit card purchases. You're having the same reaction that we did when we saw this. So in particular, we were very concerned to see the top 3 purchases that were highlighted for you that were booked on January 5th of 2023. That's roughly $40,000, a little more than that, in credit card purchases on Amazon in the same day. And our understanding is that the village does not have an Amazon account. These are somebody using one of the credit cards and charging these amounts using your tax dollars. We suspect we're going to see, as you can see, expenditures at Target, Walgreens, Best Buy, a number of charges that raise questions in our mind. Are these legitimate purchases using the credit cards? What we've also found in the credit cards, I know that there's been a lot of interest in travel, and we are highlighting here on this slide some of the travel that is reflected in the village credit cards. Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama in March of 2023 with 5 known travelers. Washington, D.C. in 2023 with 4 known travelers. Las Vegas, Nevada with 8 known travelers. Jackson, Mississippi in June of 2023 with 3 known travelers. Austin, Texas in July of 2023 with 3 known travelers. Portland, Oregon in July.
Now, this is going on. This is some of this wacky stuff going on, and people need to be held accountable for this. If you traveling on a community outside your community and this wasn't approved by the board for you to take a Las Vegas trip and you use the taxpayer dollars, then yeah, I would look forward to seeing that you are punished for doing that to the taxpayers and, refunding their money.
of 2023 with 4 travelers. Central and Southern Illinois in September of 2023. I think you're aware of what happened during that time. 10 hotel rooms booked during that travel. Traveled to New York City in October of 2023, 1 traveler. Atlanta, Georgia in November of 2023, 1 traveler on the Village's credit cards. And I caveat that because we will and are continuing to look at, I'll say, cross-pollination between the Village and the township.
See, that's something in there that we are facing all over the country. All these taxpayers are footing the bill for a lot of these politicians to go all over the place. And they putting the money and using the credit cards and everything and all kind of abuse. And that's why we need to have somebody that's going into the Justice Department that's going to actually prosecute people on these crimes. Now, I was saying that my situation is that I got involved with this company called Easy Knock, which took some of my equity out and gave me. They said, well, the house was worth $100,000, but they only going to give me $75,000. But they got the loan for $100,000, kept $25,000 of the money. Then another $5,000 in process. Then another fee of $4,700 out there. Well, anyway, now that somehow or another the company decided that they want to evict me out of a home that's still in my name. They took me out to evict me, talking about, well, I didn't let somebody come in and look at the house. Well, the house is still in my name. The house is still in my name, but I got a judge that have gotten rid of my lawyer and that have ruled for the plaintiff's attorney, which is EK Realtors or Easy Knock. Now I face this judge again on September 16th, 2024, to talking about that I should pay them $19,000. Of course, I got to go in there and face them without a lawyer. I asked them to let me I asked this Judge George L. Canellis, room 209 in the Markham Courthouse. Yeah, I don't want no bench trial, man. I want to come back out here and have me a jury trial. Well, you asked for it, and he looked it up. You asked for a bench trial in December. Man, you is out of your mind. And John Clay didn't ask for no bench trial because you're going to be sitting back here ruling every time in favor of the doggone plaintiff. John Clay slammed them, and they couldn't do nothing with her. So they finally made her quit, and now I'm without a lawyer, even though I should have won the case a long time ago. I have the city of Markham, where I stay, the municipality, then I have Cook County, and then I have the state, all back in my position. But this judge is making sure that he gives these people my house. What happens if I don't move out? Am I going to get arrested for standing up for my constitutional right for my house? Yeah, I'm still in court case. Just like with Donald Trump. The state of New York took all my money out of my $5,800. Then the Chase Bank took $100. So they took almost $6,000 out of my account. By the time it was done, man, I had $158 in my account. Now, if they had did something like that to Donald Trump and he had opened up and seen his bank statement or look online as I do, you check online, man, and find out he got $158 left in his account, shit, they wouldn't have to worry about committing an assassination. Shit, he would have jumped off the building and committed suicide himself. But I'm under the Trump administration. I voted for him in 2020. And the only thing that made me vote for him is there was new wars. Nobody had to die for him. And that's why I voted for him. Anything else, grabbing a woman by a pussy and all of that, never made me, and never even registered. Nobody had to die. Nobody had to die. We look at abortion that's going on in our society. Abortion is Jeremiah 1 and 5 talk about that God knew you in the womb. God created your spirit and he created your body. Why do you think that as a woman you can get rid of something that God created, that God made? Satan came along and told you, yeah, it's your body. You could go out there and do whatever you want. You go out there and get rid of that and have an abortion, your ass is on your way to hell. You on your way to hell. A medical procedure is called a tubal ligation. Have your tubes tied. That's a medical procedure that you can have with your doctor to make sure that you don't get pregnant. Well, out of 200 pregnancies, only one happens out of 200 tubal. So 199 tubes tied will solve 199 possible pregnancy will not happen because your tubes are tied. For a man, a vasectomy, that's a medical procedure that you can go in there and have and not come out there and creating children that you not ready for or don't want. Both of the procedures are reversible. So there's no way that you can say as a woman that you have the right to kill something God has created. We all understand that you take your butt to church and think God is going to forgive you out of your mind. God had a plan for that child's life. God had a plan. We know that this is a situation that is coming along out here. We can look in the book of Job. Well, Satan told God, asked Satan, well, where have you been? He said, I've been to and from earth, man, wreaking havoc on earth. And then God said, well, have you considered my servant Job? Have you considered him? And he said, Satan said, well, you got a hedge around him. You won't let me touch him. God said, you can do anything you want to him, to Job, but you can't kill him. Satan said, well, he flew out of there, so I'm going to have him screaming at you that you would never, he'll always curse you, everything else. The first thing that Satan did was kill all his kids. He had 10 kids. He hates man. Why do you think abortion is up? Because Satan is talking to a lot of these women that don't understand anything. That God put a person in here to solve issues and problems that's on this planet. Because he gave dominion to us, gave the planet over to us as we are to have dominion over it. And he does it through man. Most of us are working on the made side, the physical body. But sometimes you got to start working in your creative side and start asking God to increase the power in each and every one of us. Like I asked God, what can we do about all these armies and illegal immigrants and stuff? These illegal immigrants are here to protect Joe Biden and all of these lawless people out there. China has sent an entire army over here to protect them. We won't be able to, even if President Trump get in office, he's not going to be able to do that mass deportation. It's going to be a lot of bloodshed. And that's how the Satan works it. But in the end, we need biblical powers to turn back. And biblical powers like Moses split the Red Sea, all the stuff that he did to Pharaoh and stuff. Those are the things that we need to have and call power to it today. Call power to it today. Ask God to be able to blind them. We look in the 2 Kings chapter 6, you read how you can deal with an army of people, a man. By him, towards the end, you will read in there where he asked God to blind the army. We need that type of power. All 5 senses. Pray with me. Father God, we ask that you increase our power. We ask that you come back out here and, Lord, and remove anybody, or let us recognize the people that don't belong in our country, Lord, that come here to do evil things, Lord. We ask that you provide us with the power to be able to use the power and act on this power. We act on this power, Lord, in order to save this country. Lord, I love America. I love everything about America. I really do. I think that we all should love America and what it has done for us. I was a person that was on welfare walking the street. I built a business in there until I was making like a $383,000. I was just looking at some paperwork today that I ain't seen in 7, 8 years. You can do anything you want to in America. You don't have to be poor. You just have to make those decisions and say, I'm going out there. I may not have no money right now, but I know that I'm wealthy. I told Fred Smith of Federal Express, I showed him how to run his company. I got the documents on there and showing that I showed him how to run his company and he would never be able to get around it because I wouldn't have had it notarized. I know that God made me special. It made me a part of a winning team out here. I don't believe in abortions like that on demand. No, I don't. And I don't care if I don't never get elected or anything, but the bottom line is that I have a plan to fix my community and make it great again. As soon as I get past a few of these other issues that's coming in my way, I'm coming in here and I'm doing everything I can to make my country the best country ever. Illegal immigration, but I would support whatever Donald Trump wants to do. But I don't think I want to see all the bloodshed and a lot of people getting killed trying to remove these people who don't belong in our country. I don't necessarily believe that all of them are bad. Once all the entitlement goes away and they don't get it free no more, they won't vote Democrat no more. They'll vote Republican if that's the party. I don't trust either the party. I contributed to Donald Trump because he showed me what he was going to do, but the rest of them, man, shit. Every time you look up, man, they stabbing us in the back. These rhino Republicans. You can come out here and deal with our society in a way that, man, I had New York Supreme Court, New York Marshals, a company called Easy Knock EK Realtors out of New York. I had Chase Bank coming out of New York. And then I got Principal Capital. All of this attack is coming out of New York and they partner with Florida. These companies like Clear Edge Title is out of Florida. They don't know nothing about all the laws here in Illinois, but yet they somehow are able to tie up my house and make me think they're going to throw me out of my own house with these Democrats in charge. I'm here to win in life just like anybody else. I paid those people on time. Now that they had me with all the lawyer and telling me that I don't have any evidence and stuff. So, I did exactly what Trump lawyers did. First, I asked the judge to recuse himself. Next thing you know, there's a black female judge standing over him and looking at what he's doing. And you know what they did? They removed his name, but he's still on my case. But I went and filed at the 555 West Monroe, which is a judicial branch where you report bad judges. This judge here, I wrote him up for telling me a lie about the 10-day notice was still in effect, and then you get 30 days after the 10 days is up. That is not true. The RTLO says that is not true. We looked it up. The municipality of Markham said there was 10 things missing from my closings, and they even stated that there's no evidence that there was a closing ever existed. Can you believe that? These people are committing fraud. And that's why Joan Clay had me go down here and file with Kwame's office to do something about this. And come to find out, Kwame has already filed something against some other company that's operating in the very same capacity. And it was done on April 16th of 2024. I got involved with my company back in 2022 at a closing on November. 2.5 months later, Markham is telling me, well, there was no such thing that happened as a closing in your case, Mark. All the paperwork, none of it is in there. So now we're going back and forth with this judge, and it's been over a year this month. A year for a simple eviction case, a case that I have evidence to show that this case should have never even been brought. But why is it continuing? Because you have a disgraced judge. This judge, let me tell you, on LinkedIn, his page, I pulled up his LinkedIn page. This man went from third chair to first chair out of, third chair to first chair. This man was on his way to becoming a Supreme Court justice, or certainly a judge that was going to be sitting on the bench of a federal bench. Why is he doing a low statute for a judge to be doing an eviction? What did he do to disgrace himself? And why is he continuing to allow to be to disgrace himself? Maybe he's going along until he's able to get his pension. His pension is probably on the line because now he's doing evictions in the 6th district. At first, when you go in, George L. Canellis, and you go down there and you look at him, man, this dude was over felonies. Felony murders, felonies, man. He putting people in prison for the rest of their life. That's the ultimate power for a judge. Man, please, man, this dude is crazy. But we here right now trying to go through this court battle for my house that I've been in since 1970. All my family members died in this, and I'm the last one. So I'm not trying to let these people have my house. Sure, they gave me some money, but I was on track to pay them back all of their money until they decided to pull the rug out there because they need the house, because they out here taking loans on the house out there on a house they don't even own. They taking out loans. I got the paperwork to show you where they taking out loans out there when they knew the house did not belong to them. And now that we made an agreement back in November of 22 that I will pay them back $77,642. But if they owe more than that on there, maybe they owe $120,000 on the house. So now they got to pay back nearly $50,000. So they need to get me out the home and get it back into their hands and stuff like that. And this judge, Canellis, is helping them. Now I done filed down there against the attorneys down there. Now the plaintiff's attorney act like they don't even know who this guy is that representing me. That's a mistake there. Who is representing the plaintiffs? Yeah, I got it on there, man. We putting all this stuff on there, man. We putting everything on there to show you that, you know what, we got to fight back. And I don't mind fighting back. I'm fighting with my school board. I'm fighting with the people over here at the Hazel Crest who want to come back out here and trash every property values out there. Some guy named Walt Brown, a billionaire out of Arizona, I believe, is trying to get the Calumet Country Club to be rezoned. If that happens, that's going to crash the property value in Hazel Crest. Over 800 homes. It's going to crash any number of homes over in Homewood. And then on the east side of the street, East Hazel Crest, all of these properties are going to crash, which is going to force us to pay more in property taxes. We live in a very evil system that is from top to bottom is rotten. You have so many people that are just criminals. They're so busy trying to figure out how you can get something. And all you got to do is pray and ask God. God will give you any idea you want. I used to pray and ask God to help me. What can I do? Show me how to run FedEx. And I pulled out some paper one night. I couldn't sleep. And I wrote down everything that came in there. I presented it to my company and they golfed at me. No. You know what they did? It came out. We run in 96 hours when I got the paper. I told them for our sort, 96 hours. They wanted the sort to be at 68 hours. So we was 32 hours over. About 4 what we call FTE, full-time equivalents, over. 32 hours. I put that paperwork of what that woman was talking about, Gail Mosique. I went over there and put that paperwork in the Bible. God, how would you fix this problem? And God showed me. I got it to 32 hours. 32, I got it to 1/3 of the time. 1/3 of the time. And I have it today. I know God works. I know he does. So my boss came in, baby! Managing director. Yeah, the managing director, the senior manager, and the engineer. Well, the managing director, the senior manager had to go somewhere, and the operation manager. So it was just me and the managing director and the engineer. So he started asking me a bunch of questions that I didn't have the answer to because all my stuff was based off of my knowledge of the system. And he started putting the numbers in. He started putting the same numbers in that I put in there. But because he had actual numbers and mine was guessed, he came out with 28.1. He made a 4-hour improvement, putting in my numbers. And both of them sat in total silence. They couldn't believe it. I have proof that God gave me plans out there that I could come out there and fix all of these situations. I'm moving forward. Yeah, I'm making things happen. I failed at absolutely nothing I've ever done. Nothing I have ever failed at. They had 28.1. They were supposed to put it in place. It took all the way till February, I think, before they allowed me to run the plan. And when they got done, even though they did a lot of hearing and harm, they still said in writing, the senior manager, that we should move forward with Mark's plan. Of course, I crossed out Mark and I said God's plan. I don't take credit to God. God gave me the plan, and I just happen to be the one that received the credit for it. Just like Fred Smith got the plan on how to do FedEx. God gave it to him. God gave it to him, and that's okay. You know, I notarized all of my stuff out there to prove to him that when I gave it to him, man, God is good, man. I'm about to be a multi-billionaire in just a matter of a short time. I'm hoping I can get help from Trump. I had on there Larry Elder took my all the documents and all the court cases and everything, filings and stuff like that when I was down at the RNC last month in Milwaukee. I went up to Detroit to meet with President Trump. I thought I could see Trump was physically upset. I don't even know the man that well, but I don't think I would have ever did that to him. If he came out here to Markham, I would have a totally different setup for him. If he would come out here to Markham, shit, we can raise some money out here. Mostly, the state of Illinois is red, but we can't do anything because Cook County had too many ignorant black people in it. You're ignorant, and it's causing all kind of problems. If Kamala Harris didn't fix the situation now, what makes you think she's going to do it when she become the president? The president endorsed her. Joe Biden endorsed her. So if she goes in there and asks her to do this so that her poll numbers can get better, then I don't see why we would sit out here and believe that she's going to fix it. I'm in Cook County right now, man, and it's so blue out there, man. And they found out that I'm a Trump man out here too. Man, I support Trump. Man, because I don't want people dying all over the place out here trying to get the illegal immigrants. I don't want the Ukraine war. What the fuck, man? Don't nobody want to worry about everybody else's problem. And it's always the elitist type people. It's always the elitist type. Just like they made an assassination attempt against Trump and killed Kennedy and all of this other stuff. The same can be done to any Democrat. Maybe we'll put a $2 million bounty on any one of these people. Any one of these people can be sniped off, you know. Y'all always want, I said, the people in Washington, they always want to keep all this in a war and somebody else's kid to die. How do you think about that? 500,000 men from Ukraine. How is that a good thing? You mean to tell me all these wives that won't have their husbands coming back, or sons, or uncles, and all down the line, 500,000 people. And we don't know what's going to happen over in Israel with Gaza and all these other groups out there, and are they going to attack? We live in a very scary very scary world. And I'm asking y'all all to pray and ask God for supernatural power. He may not do it for me, but he might do it for you. I'm praying that we blind all of these people that don't belong in the country, because once we blind them, then they'll be easier to control. If they persist even more, well, let's take hearing. What about their sense of taste, their sense of feel, and their sense of smell? Let's do something biblical. Let's control all of these people. The ones we get them rounded up. Let's say China. Let's say China got 3 million people out here. What if we gave them a part of land somewhere, let's say Mississippi, just as an example, and we put all of them in there? They get to make themselves America, China, using our dollar bill, and let's say we got 3 million on train. Why don't we send them over and conquer China? Because the people that they're going to be conquering, remember, came from China, so all their family members are in China. What if you put in an entire government together right here on American soil for every country that brought people over here? That would mean that there's fewer Americans fight to die, to subdue China, and to come back, and people know they coming over here in China and take over the world. We could take over the world right here. China sent all these soldiers over here to protect Joe Biden and Barack Obama and stuff like that. I understand that. And, and it's going to be a major problem for us to be able to get all of these millions and millions of people out there unless we able to have some way to be able to control these people and want their lives back. Then we can ask God to send down a death angel, kill all the ones that's gonna, God know your start when you was in the womb all the way to the end. He knows how many people you gonna kill. If you gonna be a murderer like Lake and Riley would, should be alive. But we have so many people in the government corrupt. It's another attempt at the South rising up through black people and making sure that we don't have a safe society anymore. Let's look at another thing with the illegal immigrants. The government can say, okay, well, I can give you $250,000 you come into this country, which means you can buy a vehicle, you can buy a home, and you're going to have money on your food card. But y'all have to look at it. Let's say an American worker making $40 an hour. But when you hire an illegal immigrant, he can only, rather than paying an American 4 times as much, they only need to pay this worker $10 an hour, which is 25%. They don't have to pay any of the taxes that come out of that. And don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. If you never ran a business, then you wouldn't understand this. Every time they raise the minimum wage, it causes us as business owner more money because now we got to pay more in taxes. All it does is give a raise for taxes. Is the government is trying to get a raise from the business because we got to match your 7%. If I have to match your 77.5% on a person that's making $40 an hour times 5, let's say what, 40 hours, and we looking at what, $1,600 a week. Shit, $1,600 a week, and you got to pay 7.5%. And you, as the employee, you have FICA taxes and all these other taxes coming out of the money, and we have to come up with 15%. Your unemployment, all of these taxes are coming out and making more and more businesses come out there and say, damn, man, if I got to pay you $40 an hour, it really cuts down on my profits. But I can hire an illegal immigrant to do your job out there for $10 an hour, and they already owe the system already $250. If they owe the system $250,000, then every time they work, they say the company $30 an hour. That's a lot of money. $30 an hour? What are you going to do as in? You better own your own business. You better be flipping burgers or doing something at a McDonald's. I chose McDonald's for FedEx because I wanted Federal Express to move towards a system instead of a pension plan. We want to move towards generational wealth. Owning a McDonald's gives me a chance that makes $3 million. One of the videos I have with FedEx out there is with McDonald's. And the guy owning 6 McDonald's, he made $18 million a year. $18 million. That's generational wealth. Companies, in my opinion, should do away with plans. The state of Illinois is in trouble and they should do away with the pension plans. Pay you a little more on the front end and you go out here and you invest to make sure that you're ready to take care of yourself in old age. Federal Express, I put together some paperwork where they took more money out of the pension plan and all that other stuff. But my solution is this: move towards a generational wealth. Let people put together a way to get out of working every day. Put together generational wealth, and that's what I gave Express. I stand behind what I'm doing out there, and now I'm getting ready to put it back out because I'm in dire strait with money, and put it over here with Amazon. And if you go to my LinkedIn page out there, you'll see I'm starting to put up a lot of all the backlogs of stuff that I've done or that I'm involved with, and all the fights that I'm in. We can win this battle, and I know I am. I'm having the time of my life. I'm fighting with this judge. I'm filing on everywhere I can, all the systems. I can see God moving. All the systems. Let us get generational wealth for our family. As you look around, more and more people are buying like a Popeye's chicken. These people are coming in and getting this generational wealth. I suggested that back to Fred Smith back in 2009. I had a documentary of it. It's being uploaded. My kids, they fought me tooth and nail on this stuff because it's a lot of negative stuff and they don't like that. I don't want to deal with a lot of negative stuff. But if I'm going to be David in God's eye, then I have to stand up to Goliath at every turn. And I have to believe that God has a way out for me to win. I've never failed at anything. Rodney Harrison, NFL football player, he came and asked me. He asked me to help him make it to the league so that he can buy his mom a house. And I mean, we had a plethora of black men. And I took him and helped him, and he made it to the league. And he's one step away from being into the Hall of Fame. I failed at nothing. I showed Fred Smith how to run this company and make billions. Had he been taking my plan out there, I'd be 400 or 500 million. I'd be a billionaire right now. But I ain't try to destroy his company. I was building my own company, man. I was enjoying my life. I took one van and turned it into like 15 vehicles. I was making $383,000 a year. So I know it can be done. But I got involved with the school board and they wrote a letter called from May 15th. I'm sorry, let's go back. The letter was May 18th, 2015. That said that I wanted to kill the school board members that didn't vote for me being the head coach of Hillcrest. I had already been appointed to Hillcrest job a week early. But, they decided that they were going to throw a monkey wrench in there. So naturally, I'm mad. So I'm coming in there, looking in, and I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in your shit. And that's what I did. I ain't take that $10,000 bribe to make me feel better. No, I ain't going to do that. Y'all ass took something away from me because I want to show these kids how to win. I came in there when I first was met with the kids. I pulled out $5,000. And them kids, and I told them, you don't have to be a drug dealer to make it in America. One of the kids came up and grabbed the money. I let him have it. I ain't let him have it, but he took it out of my hand. I let him take it out of my hand, count it up. I don't see how we lose all the time with kids. We're losing with them in schools. Barack Obama's school over there has a 2s and 3s in every category, or just about. Obama School on 165th and Park over there on the far east side of Markham. People don't realize that, we're going to make a difference. We can make a change in there. And it's slowly starting to change because, Joyce got the job over at 144, and we're going to go in there with her and help her. And we all going to help each other to try to come in and really change the culture of our community. But we need to get rid of these people that are really not for us. I did my job because I'm protecting the taxpayers' interest. And I'm going to protect the taxpayers' interest because that's what God asked me to do. That's what God asked me to do. And I'm doing it. I don't know how I'm going to win this case with this judge. Because he told me I got to pay these people $19,000 and you better get down to that marker and do it. I sure, man, that judge, I look at him dead in his eye for a lot of his stuff, but he made sure that when I told him, he said, when are you going down to Markham? The white man told me, I said, I ain't going down there ever. You get down there tomorrow. You gonna go down there and you better let me know as soon as you get back there. Did he show up? So I went to Markham, man. Now remember, Markham back in February of 23 said that there's no evidence and that this contract is null and void. The city of Markham told them that, and they were well aware of it. And they made no efforts to change any of that stuff. It's still the same 10 things that Markham quoted. But somehow this judge is just going to look all the way past it. I know this is a long video, but this is the first time that I'm doing this again. I've been doing off and on, but I'm here to let y'all know, man, I'm fighting for my country. I'm fighting for me. I'm fighting for all the families out there that we have better results in our schools. I was on the school board from 2015 to 2023. They decided to throw me off the board. I'm creating too much confusion. Well, I'm not cooperating now because y'all doing all that backwards ass shit. I'm America, making America great, and everybody got to do it. It can't just be Trump. You got to go out and run for these local school boards. You got to run for all these other things out there because Trump can only fix the stuff at the top. Maybe give us a good Department of Justice and that can come out here and criminalize and look at the Attorney General of Illinois and stuff like that. Why am I still going through this case where my lawyer has already put it together that I should have won this case a long time ago? In fact, my case, my lawyer told me in February that she still hadn't had permission to file my case. Mind you, we started this in August. So I'm trying to reach out to Sean Hannity if y'all can help get this on Truth Social or any of these other platforms out there. Anybody that want to do an interview with me and stuff like that. Looking for Tiffany Hanyard. Give me a call out there. I believe that, a lot of this stuff is because inflation is hitting, and that's why everybody is in trouble. Don't take that. I'm a black man. I will help you, Tiffany, if you will let me. And y'all have a blessed day.